Ubisoft is such a funny company to me. They, for the last 15 years, I don't think I've bought a single Ubisoft game besides Siege when it was like in its third, fourth year coming out, or when it was out. Um, I think that's it. I don't think there's a single Ubisoft game I've actively gone out there and bought. And this news that came out recently that Ubisoft is considering buying out with Tencent to take the company private is both a really good thing and a really bad thing. On one hand, I think if Ubisoft goes private, they don't have to worry about shareholders and they don't have to worry about all this like nonsense about constantly paying shareholders and making sure every year they're getting more and more and more and more and more. But and this way they can consolidate the company into a small little like small area, a small company basically, like a mid-sized AAA company and mid-sized AAA company. But yeah, they can do that, and they can worry about games that they really want to focus on. The problem with Ubisoft is they are the quintessential kings of mid games. You are never gonna get a good experience with them. You're never gonna get like a bad experience with them. You're always gonna have a mid experience. Ubisoft has set themselves on this treadmill. They cannot get out of this. I don't understand what Ubisoft's problem is. They follow trends, they don't set trends. And this news where Tencent basically wants to buy out the company is a scary thing because goddamn it's Tencent who's well Chinese unfortunately who is part of the CCP who controls almost everything to do with China. There is no private sector in China. There's only the Chinese government. Bro, that's scary. Any game where it's unfortunately Chinese, I get kind of skeptical on. I'm like, well, who knows what's gonna be in my computer now? Maybe I'm being a jackass. Maybe I'm being one of those like conspiracy theorists. But I'm just like, man, I don't mind Chinese people. I don't mind Chinese developers, but Chinese government. Hey, yo, chill, fam. But anyway, let's read into the article. A major change could be coming at Ubisoft sooner rather than later. According to a new report from Bloomberg, the founders of Ubisoft, the Guillemot family, are considering a buyout from Tencent. The discussion came after what's the most tumultuous year in the company's history. Ubisoft has seen its shares fall to 11 years low. Games like Star Wars Outlaws have struggled to sell, and its biggest franchise, Assassin's Creed, has seen its next game delayed in 2025. Here's the problem, though, right? Here's the problem, jackass. Okay, I'm talking to it like I'm talking to Gilmo, who is the biggest single problem of all time. Bro, this guy needs to go. This guy has like made the company fall by a drastically. It's crazy. Gilmo sucks. He used to be pretty good, sure, back in 2000 and goddamn 8, but not anytime soon afterwards. As soon as Assassin's Creed 2 came out, literally as soon as the Xbox One generation came out, Ubisoft has been on a decline like I've seen no other. It's crazy. You take into account every other single company. They put out bangers, they put out lows, they put out worse, like really bad games. Ubisoft has is considerably just putting out mid after mid after mid. How many mids can you put out until someone goes, well, why would I buy a Ubisoft game? Sure, Ubisoft games are good, but they're not good enough to retain attention. And that's what they want. They want everybody to retain attention. They want everybody to retain attention. They don't want to change the gameplay. Every single goddamn game is Assassin's Creed 2 again and again and again and again. And sure, Star Wars Outlaws is sort of different, but not different enough. Then you have that Avatar game, which is just Far Cry. Cool, it looks really beautiful, but why would I play that over Far Cry? And then you look at Far Cry and then you think to yourself, well, what the hell happened to this franchise? It used to be really good with 3, and I would even argue like 2 and 1 were really good, which weren't even made by Ubisoft, or at least I don't think 1 was. But I think 3 was really good. 4 was fun. 5 was I think 5 was pretty fun too with a friend. But Gilmo has made nothing but terrible decisions, and he himself has kept on these people. Like, what was that charge that happened back in a few years ago with with the rape charges or something, dude. He is the sexual alleged charges. He was part of that. He was literally there, being like, "I didn't know that happened. Ooh, that happened to me. Oh, I didn't. He must be my friend, but how could I not know, bro? How did you not know? He's your friend. He's like your best friend. He's been working for your company over for 10 years, and you didn't know this shit." And then the problem is like Ubisoft doesn't want to innovate. They don't want to change. They don't want to create new games. It's just Assassin's Creed, Assassin's Creed, Assassin's Creed, Assassin's Creed. Maybe you'll get a Star Wars. Maybe you'll get a Beyond Good and Evil. But then when you look at Beyond Good and Evil, what the shit happened to that game? They tried making it into a live service for number 2 the last time we saw, and then now we don't know what the hell's going on with the game. All we need it to be is a single player game like the first one. That's all it does. That's all it needs to be. To make it be a Legend of Zelda clone again, but a different, like not different, but like adapt to that, change it up. Like, give new weapons, give new abilities, give new storylines, and all this shit. But instead, we keep going back to the same shit over and over again. And then you have Ubisoft who constantly keeps going back to the live service and goes, well, why don't we just have not just one live service game that does well? Why don't we have 5? They're making a new Assassin's Creed game that's like a live service. Why? Why does Assassin's Creed need to be live service? Anyway, oh my god, the Chinese tech companies and Gilmore Brothers Ltd were speaking with adversaries, adversaries to help explore ways to stabilize Ubisoft and bolster its value. The Bloomberg report states. That said, one of its options on the table would involve taking the company private. That said, talks are at an early stage. No certainty at an agreement will be reached. Tencent and Gilmour family are considering other alternatives, sources told Bloomberg. The idea of Ubisoft going private isn't new. Recently, there's been a major push from smaller investors to do just that. It's garnered support from at least 10% of the company's shareholders. Here's the thing, the company's shareholders, that one that said let's do it, he bought stocks into Ubisoft like quite recently, saw that Ubisoft has this much money and was like, listen guys, why don't you fire all these people and then just make the company private? Which ironically isn't the worst thing for Ubisoft to do. They should probably consider going private. Once you go private, you have all the time in the world to like really consolidate and put things where you want them. The moment you're not private is the moment you gotta keep paying shareholders who keep wanting more and more and more. At least this way, when Ubisoft does make a banger like a Rainbow Six Siege, they can keep themselves alive for a very long time. But anyway, Tencent currently owns 10% of Ubisoft. The company is funded by the Gilmour family in the 1986. CEO Yves Gilmour has been in the position since 1988, but as part of the aforementioned push for the sales by investors, has seen requests for his removal. He should be gone, bro. Him and all his brothers should be gone. The Gilmour family needs to be removed from Ubisoft, like straight up. They have done nothing but hurt Ubisoft the last 10 years. I like I said in the beginning, I can't tell you a single game I bought from them. And I can't recommend anybody buying a Ubisoft game unless you're like, well, if you're looking for a long-term game where you're not going to be happy and you're not really going to be sad either. You're just going to be like sitting there mindlessly, brainlessly, like brain dead and just playing a game. A Ubisoft game is perfect. Which isn't what you want to hear from a game. What you want to hear from a game is either it's kind of terrible but kind of fun in a way, or you want to hear like something like, oh, this game is amazing, it's 10 out of 10, I love this shit, it's really good. Or even, hey, this game is not great, but it has some really good aspects to it. A Ubisoft game is never anything one of those. It's always just kind of like, yeah, I mean, yes, alright, innit? It's Ubisoft. The last 2 games they put out was Star Wars Outlaws, which is surprisingly, a lot of people say is very good. And they're even fixing it up now for the stealth missions. And then there's, which to be fair, it's kind of weird that Outlaws is a stealth game where it wasn't kind of marketed as that. At least I didn't see it that way. And then you have the Prince Persia game, which is fantastic. But other than those two, it's kind of middling that Ubisoft has turned into this shit. And it's kind of crazy, right? Like, let me see if this comes up. Here we go. Tencent, here's the problem with Tencent. Tencent owns a lot of companies. They don't own just one company. They own a lot of different companies, like putting into the shares. They have so many shares throughout. And Tencent is scary. It's very scary because what is Tencent? What would they do? They're part of China, the Chinese government. What do they put into the games? Well, who knows what they put into the games? Then you got Chinese software, and then the Chinese government has access to your computer. Not really computer, but then they have access to, well, your information. They have access to everything. 40% Epic Games, Bluehole 11.5, Ubisoft 10% now. That's gone up. This is 4 years ago, bro. This is 4 years ago. Think about what's changed within those 4 years. Then the Wukong game, they have access to that. Grinding Gears, Path of Exile 8%, bro. It is crazy. They have so much investment all over the place. All over the place, they have access. They want to be in everything. They want to they want to be in everything, and they want to just be part of everyone's lives everywhere. I don't know, man. It's scary. It's scary. It's scary. Um, yeah, it's who knows what they're gonna do, man. I don't like it. I don't like it. I hope Ubisoft doesn't sell out, but I hope Ubisoft does consider going private and does consider, like, I do hope that the Gilmore brothers leave. They've done nothing but hurt that company more than they have helped it in the last 10 years. I would say more than 10 years, 15 years, bro. They have not done anything. They chase trends. They don't set trends, and it's like, goddamn. Where's my new Rayman game? Give me my new, I want a Rayman game. What's that game? Child of Light? That shit was mad. I love that game. Um, then you got all of Ubisoft's like indie games were great back in the day, and then they decided to shut it all down, and now they're not doing any of that stuff anymore, and it sucks. It sucks hard. I think Ubisoft just has too many companies throughout the world. They need to shrink down. Unfortunately, that does mean a lot of people are going to be losing their jobs, which does suck. And I'd hope that doesn't happen. But if they go private, that's definitely going to happen, which is unfortunately kind of the best situation for Ubisoft as a company. At least I think so. Uh, I don't know. It is a tough decision. I do get that, but I don't know. I think they should just go private. I think they go private. They focus on some of the best games they have. They go back to like building up Splinter Cell. They go back to building up Prince of Persia. They go back to all these franchises that they own, and they really work on it. Can we get a Ghost Recon game that isn't open worlds? That isn't like what we had? Yeah, I don't. They have so much. They have so much, and they just don't do anything. They don't do anything good with it. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of a really good Ubisoft game I played back in the day. I don't remember what it was, but I remember playing something. I was like, yo, this game is mad. But yeah, I mean, I guess they're gonna continue doing Just Dance because that's where all their money comes from. I mean, but yeah, I mean, the reality is, why would anyone buy a Ubisoft game when it's just mid, in it? All right. Before this video is going for too long. Take care and see ya. Oh yeah, I can talk about this skyrocket, the share. I don't really know how to talk about shares, but their shares have gone by like 33% after reporting Tencent was gonna buy them out, which is kind of crazy. I don't really know how shares work, so I don't really want to talk about it. But it's a fun little article. I might put it into the description if I remember. But otherwise, yeah, I don't really know in it. All right, bye.